Hey guys, and welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be taking a look at my BPL predictions, so how I think uh, the BPL is going to play out this season, who's going to win it, who's going to come in the top four, who's going to get relegated, and we're also going to be looking at who I think is going to be the top goal scorer and who will get the most assists as well. So we won't waste any more time, and we'll jump into who I think will finish bottom of the table, and that is going to be Burnley. Now, they don't seem to have made that many additions after coming into the Premier League. And yes, Andre Gray did have a fantastic season last year, but I just don't think he's going to be enough to push Burnley forward and get them out of the relegation zone and off the bottom of the table. So that's why I put them there. Also, they seem to not, as I said, not have brought in anyone new. So it's going to be a much harder season for them this year, and they're going to need more players. So unless they do anything within the last few days or weeks of the transfer window, then I can just see them finishing bottom. Now, 19th. Even though it's a good start from them this year already, I have put Hull. They seem to be everyone's favourite to get relegated, and it's the same with me. They did beat the champions Leicester, but I just can't see them doing it over the whole season. They interviewed Robert Snodgrass after the win against Leicester, and he did say that they did need some more players, and it's going to be very, very tough for them if they get any injuries or anything. So I can't see them, cause I don't think they've got a big enough squad to compete in the Premier League very well. So I think they're going to finish 19th. Not going to finish rock bottom, but just above them. They have got some pretty decent players. Snodgrass did look pretty good when he played. And yeah, so I think they're very, very good in the Championship. And I think they're coming back up again if they did get relegated, but I just can't see them performing very well this year. Now, 18th, last relegation place, I think, is going to be Bournemouth. Now, that might be a bit of a surprise to some people, but I think Bournemouth are going to get relegated this year. They have bought a few players as well. They've bought Jordan Ibe, Brad Smith, both from Liverpool. They've spent quite a lot of money, but they are currently bottom of the table. I know that means nothing after one game, but I just cannot see them doing well. Uh, and it's quite kind of the opposite to Hull. They have bought a lot of players in, but they're all going to have to at least have a season to get used to the team and how it plays and the manager and everything. So I just can't see them. Just can't see them not getting relegated. And I think the amount of new players, I think they've not got the right mix. They've brought too many players into the club, and yeah, I think they're just going to get relegated now. So we're moving on to the team that's just avoided relegation, and I think personally it's going to be the same as it was last season, Sunderland. Okay guys, so at this moment I said Sunderland finished 17th. I do realise at the end of the video it's actually Watford, but there's actually going to be nothing on Watford, so even though I'm talking about Sunderland finishing 17th, I've actually got them to finish 17th, so 16th, sorry. So that's just me being an idiot, so just ignore it, and yeah, carry on with the video. Just avoided relegation last season. I think they'll do it again. Obviously, they've lost their manager as he has gone to manage England in Sam Allardyce, so they're looking for a new manager. But I think they've got the quality in players. Obviously, Jermaine Defoe is a very, very capable player. He does score a lot of goals for Sunderland. If you look at the amount of goals he scored last season, considering that Sunderland did finish as low down as they did, they have got the quality of players there. So I've not really got much to say about Sunderland. I just think they'll avoid relegation. I don't think they're going to go down. So above them, we've got the newly promoted team in Middlesbrough. They have also made quite a lot of signings, and they've made good ones as well for them. They've brought in Valdez, who's a very experienced goalkeeper, obviously ex-Barcelona, so that's going somewhere. They've also brought in Negredo, who's done pretty alright for Valencia, and he did okay for Man City when he was there as well. So they've brought in good players. Like, they might not be good for the likes of Man City and Barcelona, but considering it's Middlesbrough, who were a championship team last season, they've made some brilliant signings, and quality is quality, guys, and I think that they are going to be able to secure themselves a decent position for them in the table, so that should be good. And then above Middlesbrough, I've gone with West Brom. A similar kind of thing to Sunderland. They could have just avoided relegation, but they're just one of them teams that don't really get relegated. They don't do well, they don't do bad, they're just in between. They draw a lot of games, and they've got some good players though. Rondon seems very, very good, and he seems up to the task this season of doing well. And they've got Ben Foster in goal, I believe, as well, who's pretty decent for them. And I think they'll finish in the 16th position. And just above them, we've got Crystal Palace. Again, pretty similar. They've made a few decent signings. Mandanda, but he's not really playing over Hennessy because he's doing so well. They're another team that just don't get relegated, really, Crystal Palace. They have got a very, very good team, but however, they have just sold Yannick Bolasie to Everton, so we'll see how much that affects them. But they've also got great players like Zaha as well, who I just think is fantastic. And they've got the quality of players, and I do think that they can definitely show themselves a mid-table finish. Above them, we've got Swansea. Again, they've got some very, very good players, fast players, good in the counter-attack like Jefferson Montero and Routledge as well. He's pretty good when he comes on. They've got some good midfield options that seem to link up well for them as well. They've got a very well-rounded team. They're pretty good in all positions, and I can see them doing very, very well this year, finishing not exactly bottom half of the table, but maybe just in the top half. So I think they've got a pretty decent team, Swansea. And then above them we've got Stoke, who I think are very, very underrated. I went to watch them play last season against Liverpool because I am a Liverpool fan. You can tell I have the top on. But they were very, very good, and we did actually beat them by a few goals. But they're very, very underrated. They're a massively different team to what they were before. They used to just sign a load of big players, kick the ball at the pitch and hope for the best. But now they've got very, very technical players like Michael Arnautovic and Shaqiri and the likes of that as well. And they also do have some great strikers into youth and things like that. So I do think that they are going to do very well. And they've got a lot of different playing styles, like they can change in the same game. For example, if they're losing, they can just bring on Peter Crouch and just completely change up their playing style. And then instead of Shaqiri and Arnautovic maybe cutting inside from the wing and maybe having a shot on goal, they can go outside and cross it in, and they can really leave defenders guessing. So I think they're going to do pretty decent this season. Now, above them, we've got Southampton. They always finish around this area. They finished 7th, I think, last season. But I think they're going to finish, I can't even remember, I think it's 10th this season. I've put them, I'm just looking at my list here, I've not put numbers next to them, so I think they're going to finish 10th, maybe. Again, they've got some good players, but I just don't think they're consistent enough to be challenging for them Europa League places this season. They do well, and they do pull out some good performances, but they do sell a lot of their players. They've just lost Mane to Liverpool, and they just seem to sell the best players every year, so I don't really know how well that's going to work out for them. And then above them, we've got Everton. So, Everton, I don't particularly like being a Liverpool fan, but they have got good players, I will admit. The likes of Ross Barkley, I think, is very, very good, and Lukaku, if they can hold on to him as well. If none of them can get injured and they do play well, then they can potentially get higher up the table. But I put them in 9th at the minute because I feel as if they may lose Lukaku, and if he gets injured or something, Ross Barkley and Lukaku are like their main men. So if one of them has a slight injury, I feel this is going to massively affect the season. And if say one of them was to get injured for near enough the whole season, I feel this could just flop massively and not do as well as they potentially could do. So that's Everton, and above them I've got West Ham. They've got fantastic players in my opinion, and very, very underrated team. And they are going into their new stadium, the Olympic Stadium this year. They have Europa League football, so that will take its toll on them. But I think they're able to cope with it. And I think they'll do pretty well. They've got the likes of Diafra Sakho and Enner Valencia up front, bringing a lot of pace. They've got Antonio, who can play right back and right mid. They've got a lot of players that can move around positions, and they've got a few young boys out there as well, like Reece Oxford. Not sure whether he's loaned out, but they've got some potential, and they've also got experience in there as well, which is exactly what you need in a team. Now, next up, in the 6th place position, we have got Leicester City. Now, they won the league last year. Barely anybody expects them to do it again. I being one of them, and I think they are going to finish in 6th place. I don't think. Oh, is it 7th place? 7th place. I don't think they're going to get much higher than that. They've lost Kante, who was, in my opinion, despite Vardy and Mahrez scoring a lot of goals, Kante was the main man in the Leicester team last year. He was winning the ball back. He was playing it to Mahrez and potentially to Vardy as well. And I think he was a massive, massive loss. If they would have held on to Kante, I can see them potentially finishing higher. but I just, after watching them against Hull, I know it's only one game, and watching them in the Community Shield against Man United, they just didn't look like the team that they were last season. And I just don't think they're going to do as well. And they've got Champions League football against some very big teams, and they've not depth in the squad that much either. So I think that players are going to get tired, and there's going to be way too many games for them. I just don't think they're going to be able to cope with it. So that is Tottenham now. No, that's Leicester. Sorry. Next up is Tottenham in the 6th place position. Now it's getting a bit biased now with me being a Liverpool fan, but I put Tottenham in 6th. Obviously, they finished 2nd last season, 3rd, sorry. But if you look at how they dropped off at the end of last season, it looked like they could win the league potentially. Then they dropped off into 2nd. You were thinking that they were pretty much guaranteed 2nd place, and then they slipped up and actually went down into 3rd in the end, with Arsenal overtaking them. And I just think that they crack under pressure. Again, they're another one of them teams that barely signed anybody. They've signed Janssen up front, who was admittedly the top goal scorer in the Eredivisie last year, but Eredivisie is a massively different league, and it is a hard transition from the Eredivisie to the Premier League. You have players like Memphis Depay and Wijnaldum as well, who have both struggled in their first seasons in the Premier League. So I think he's going to struggle if he does come on. And obviously they do have fantastic players like Dele Alli and Harry Kane, etc. And definitely Hugo Lloris in goal as well. But I just don't think they're consistent enough, and I don't think they want it enough as much as some other teams. So I'm going to stop being biased now. In 5th position, I've gone for Liverpool, just missing out on Champions League, but I think Jurgen Klopp, now he's had a year to do what he wants with the team. I believe he can do much better things. Mane looks very bright. I've watched pretty much every game they've played so far this season, even the pre-season games and stuff. Our team looks very, very good. We've got a lot of young boys. I think we still need to get rid of a few players like Benteke and potentially bring in some others. And we definitely need a new left back to replace Moreno. Because if you watch the game against Arsenal on Sunday, you will have seen that he was absolutely pathetic. And I wouldn't even put him in the Burnley team, to be honest. But we do look very, very bright and lively, and I can see us doing pretty well if we have the heart. And we do tend to get a lot of last minute goals, and we do push forward into the last few minutes, and we really do try and get goals. And I think that's one of the best things about our Liverpool team. We don't sit down if we've 2 goals or 3 goals behind. We believe all the way through, and I think you've got to give credit to Jurgen Klopp for that, because he does do a lot of that with them. And obviously he is a fantastic manager mentally as well as tactically. He knows he befriends the players and makes them really want to fight for the games that they're playing. So now we're moving into the top 4, the important positions in the Premier League. In 4th place, I've gone with Chelsea. Now, I would have put these higher up, but after last season, I know they've got a new manager now and they've brought in some new signings, but I just cannot see him doing it. They've got some really, really quality players like Eden Hazard and Diego Costa, but they just don't seem bothered a lot of the time. They just take for granted that they're playing for Chelsea and they think they should be doing well, but in reality they actually do need to try to beat some of the teams in the league, and they're not as good as they think they are. For example, Hazard last season he had a shocker, and they could also lose some of their biggest players like Fabregas and Matic, who also played important roles in the team in the year that they did win the league. So I think if they get rid of those players and if they actually try, they could push for the title if they keep all their players. But if they're just going to let go of Matic and Fabregas and nobody else starts trying, they could even finish outside of the top 4. So that's just my opinion. Now, 3rd place, I've gone with Arsenal. They look solid. I can't believe I'm still saying it, but they still need another striker. Giroud's a decent player, but he's just too inconsistent, and he's just not good enough. They need a world-class striker like Benzema, Lacazette, someone like that. But Arsene Wenger just does not want to spend any money on them. But they have brought in some pretty good midfielders like Xhaka, and so I think they could be a threat, and they do play fantastic football as well. And they did look very, very good against Liverpool on Sunday, despite losing 4-3. It shows that they are capable of getting goals, and they do want to win games. The fact that they were 2-0, 2 goals down within the last 10 minutes, and still brought back 2 goals. They weren't able to win the game or draw it, but they were still pushing to try and get the goals that they needed to come back into the game, which was fantastic. And they do look very, very good. going forward and also defensively. They also need a new centre back, but I'm sure Arsene Wenger will sign one because he'd just be silly not to. And that's why I put Arsenal in third place. Now, we're moving on to the top two. It's the two Manchester clubs, if you've not realised by now. Well done at home if you realise that. But in second place, I'm going to have to go with Man City. Just because, partly because I'll go on to Man United in a minute, but they do have some fantastic players, Man City. And it was very, very hard for me to pick between these two because Guardiola and Mourinho, just in itself, is a whole different video talking about them two because they're both fantastic proven managers around the world. But yeah, I just think Guardiola's not quite as good as Mourinho yet, and I think that with the signings that Man United have made compared to ones City have made, like City have made signings like Gundogan, which is a fantastic signing, but they've also made ones like Nolito, who is a good player, and I would probably get him in the Liverpool team, but he's just not as big as some of the signings Man United have made, and he's not as proven, obviously coming from Celta Vigo, and obviously Sané as well. I know he's more for the future and does look like a very bright prospect at the minute, but they're just not on the same scale as Man United. So if we do go on to talk about Man United, Mourinho has won he has won a title in the first season with every club he's been at, which is great, and so has Ibrahimovic, who they've just signed. And when we compare the signings to Man City, they've signed like Ibrahimovic, Pogba. They've just made some like world class signings, like literally proven. Like Ibrahimovic has been in pretty much every league in the world now. He's proved himself in the Serie A, in the French league, and he's doing pretty well in the BPL so far as well. Obviously scoring on the opening day. And that's why I think they're going to win the league. I think they've got the better manager. They've just signed better signings, but it could really go either way. So that's the Premier League table out the way. Just a quick recap: top four: Man United, Man City, Arsenal, and Chelsea. I think Man United are going to win the league, and the teams that are going to get relegated are going to be Burnley, Hull, and Bournemouth, with Watford just hanging on in there. I might have skipped Watford actually. I don't remember talking about them, but they are in there in 17th place. So sorry about that. I forgot to talk about Watford completely, but they are actually the team that I think is going to finish 17th, just above the relegation zone, not Sunderland. So sorry about that. But if we go on to the top goal scorers, the top goal scorer, who I think is going to score the most goals in the league, is going to be Sergio Aguero. Now, finishing second in the league, in my opinion, Man City, they're going to need to score goals, and Aguero is normally the main man they look to. Sometimes Torre gets a lot of goals, but he's aging a bit now, and there's been a lot of links with him leaving the club. So I think it's just going to come down to Aguero, really. A lot of Man City's goals are going to come through Aguero. So I think he's going to get more goals, really. It's simple as that, isn't it? Whoever gets the most goals, but I think he will do that. And then moving on to who I think gets the most assists, it is going to be Juan Mata. It might be a bit of a controversial one, but I actually really rate Juan Mata, and I think he's very, very good. He got a goal at the weekend against, I can't remember who they were playing, Bournemouth, I think it was, Man United. But, yeah, Juan Mata I think is really good. Every time Man United seems to score, he's either got an assist or he's scored it himself. And a lot of people don't like him, and even if he goes to Everton, I think he'll fit in pretty well there as well. So I can see him being the most assisted player in the league, even above the likes of Payet and Ozil and everybody like that. So that's the end of the video, guys. Please drop a like down below and subscribe while you're around here. And but apart from that, guys, have a very nice rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video.